Hello, this is Casey Schaub. This video is going to show you how to create a manual/hybrid assessment within Elluminate. So the first thing I want to show you here is that I have a digital copy of my assessment. This one is saved as a PDF, and I recommend that you save your assessment as a PDF as well, just so you make sure that all the formatting is going to be consistent. Later on in this video, I'm going to show you how you can attach this digital copy of your assessment to the manual/hybrid assessment within Elluminate. So once we're signed into Elluminate, to create a new assessment, we're going to click Assessments, Create a New Assessment, and then here you can see we have On the Fly, Manual, Hybrid, Item Bank. Well, we're going to focus on Manual/Hybrid Assessment on this video. So go ahead and click that option. We're not going to be typing the question stems inside of Elluminate. We're just going to attach that PDF and then put in the answer key. So we need to know how many questions we actually have on the assessment. For this assessment, I'm going to put 6 and then click OK. So the next part of the creation process is to title our assessment. I suggest putting as much information into the title as possible. I think you should put the course name, the unit name. If you're doing it on a specific standard, you're going to want to put that in the title. You're also going to want to put the school year in there so you can reference it later. In addition, you could put more information in the description. I'm going to click on More Options here. This allows you to put a lot more information here, which will help for sorting and filtering your assessments later. You can put in the academic year. You can put in the subject. You can go ahead and click on the Choose a Scope to pick that this is teacher created. You can select the grade levels. This next option is very important because if you want students to be able to take this as a hybrid assessment, you're going to want to click Yes to show in Student and Parent Portal. You could change the performance band that's going to be attached to this assessment. When you're done, go ahead and click Save. So this immediately takes me to the next part of my setup, which is putting in the answer key. So I know that my question 1 is a multiple choice question. My question 2 is a select multiple. So I'm going to type in A, B, D so that the students have to have all A, B, D in there to get the correct points. Question 3 is also select multiple. Question 4 is a constructed response item. So I have to pick a rubric. When I'm done here, I'm going to go ahead and click Save. If you click Setup, you can see the rest of the setup process here for a manual or hybrid assessment. Other options include standards, aligning your questions to standards, creating question groups, aligning your questions to question groups, looking at your performance bands, designing your bubble sheets, or attaching your materials. We're going to go ahead and click on Materials. Click on Upload. Now click in the space where it says to upload materials, drag and drop, or click here to select a file from your computer. We're then going to find that file on our computer and click Attach. You can see that we have the message that says material has been uploaded. So we're finished with this part of the assessment creation process. We're going to click on Setup, and then we're going to click on Standards. You can scroll through here to see all the standard options that you have. Since this is an Algebra 2 course, I'm going to click on Common Core Mathematics. And then for grade level, I'm going to click High School Algebra. I'm going to click Search, and then you see all the search results. So here are the 4 major strands in algebra. If I click on the plus icon next to the standard, it will then allow me to dive deeper into that standard strand. So I could use this to delve deeper and deeper into my standards to select my very specific standard, which in this case is REI.3. However, since I had this coded to my assessment before I started, I know that every question on this assessment is aligned to REI.3, so therefore there's another quicker way to get access to this. I can actually go into the search, and since I know part of that strand, I can type in REI.3 and hit search, and then you'll see it specifically goes right to that standard. If you have more than one standard that you're assessing, you can put a space after that and then type in another standard. So for me, it'd be like REI.4. Then if I hit search, it will show me those standards. Now, REI.4 has an A and a B, so those will show up as well. Even though my assessment is only assessed in REI.3, I'm going to click 2 of them so you can see what happens if you have multiple standards. So I'm going to go ahead and click the boxes next to those standards and click the green button that says Link Selected Standards. We're going to click on Setup and then Standards Alignment. And you can see the way it's set up here, I have question 1 on the left-hand side, and then I have both of my standards which are in columns. So I can go ahead and select which standards hits which question if I wanted to. Now, as you add more and more standards, say you're doing a final exam and you have like 30 standards being assessed, this would go horizontally. You'd have all of those standards across the top. If you don't like this method, you can click this little green arrow on the left-hand side, and then it will display the questions on the top and the standards on the left-hand side. So the same way, you can go ahead and you can go select which question hits which standard. I'm going to go back to the old way just because I only have the one standard, and go ahead and write down that column, select all of them for REI.3, and then click Save. Now the next thing we want to look at is question groups. Question groups give you another way to help analyze your data. For example, maybe you're giving a pretest, which is your final exam, but you're giving it at the beginning of the year. You can create a question group for each unit. So you can do Unit 1 question group, Unit 2 question group, Unit 3 question group, and then you can compare that to at the end of the year when you have the final exam. You can do the exact same thing in your final exam and look at growth on Unit 1 questions, Unit 2 questions, Unit 3 questions, and so forth. I might make a question group called Application Problems that require my students to do any sort of reading when they're trying to solve them. The reason this would be useful because I might be able to look at my students and be like, okay, this student's getting an 85%, but this question group they are consistently struggling in, and it could be these application problems. I could cross-reference this with some of their reading scores and decide, wow, maybe this student is really struggling with the reading, therefore they're skipping all the application problems. It's not that they can't do the mathematics, it's just they can't get to the heart of the question. So we might have to look at some reading strategies to really help that student. Or for example, in this situation, I'm giving a formative assessment on an Algebra 1 standard because I know this Algebra 1 standard impacts what my students can do in Algebra 2. Therefore, I'm going to make a question group and call it Algebra 1 Standards. I'm going to go ahead and click Save, and then I'm going to go up to my Setup. I'm going to click Question Group Alignment. I'm going to align my questions to my different question groups. When you're done aligning your questions to your question groups, click Save. The next setup item we're going to look at is performance bands. You can see here that we're using the district default performance band. If you wanted to add another performance band to your assessment, you could click that green button right there. Thank you.